Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives. Not just the latest episode. All free at GCNlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor at USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Yeah, everyone all set, cocked, locked? Here we go. Your dial set correctly to USA Prepares. Thank you for being in class with us today. Jason is engineering the broadcast in Minnesota. I'm Vincent Finelli. If you'd like to call us, we'll pay for the call, 866-582-9933. 866-582-9933. Telephone listen line was working. It stopped working yesterday. It might be working now. If it is, 605-477-3249. Guineith Isaacs is with us live in Australia. Welcome, Guineith.
Hello, Vincent. Can you hear me fine now? We had some technical issues earlier.
Yeah,
Can you hear me okay now?
It's quite muffled. If you could speak slowly and closer to your phone, that would be great.
How's that?
Not so good.
Is that better?
No, not so good.
Okay, I'll tell you what if I speak right up close like this?
Yeah, okay, you're overmodulating a little bit, but that's better.
All right, how about this? Is that good?
Barely, but we'll see. Let's see how it goes. So, Guineith, I may need to do a little more talking than I usually do on the broadcast, but I want to share something with our class. One of your instructors' class has been banned from Walmart. Now, that would be in the United States. So of all your instructors, there's only one whom it could not be. Guineith, you have not been in the United States in the last couple of weeks, have you?
No.
Okay. So class, when you vote, and we're just taking a little survey here, who do you think was banned from Walmart? And I'm not kidding. One of your adult instructors, and all of your instructors are adults, has been banned from Walmart. So we'd like to take your calls throughout the week, maybe even into next week. So even no matter what the topic is, if you have the desire to call in and let us know whom you think was banned, we'd love to hear that, and I'm keeping a tally. So all of your instructors, it's a possibility that all of your instructors could have been banned, any one of them, except for Guineith, because she was not in the United States. And this did happen at a United States Walmart. Another thing I wanted to mention was I would love to hear from those who are students in the class. What do you like? What don't you like? And how can we make USA Prepares better? Okay? And for those who are, so many have called me, contacted me, and our students, our instructors want to get together. And I've been trying to think, how can we get together? Because the government-run convention centers are not really friendly to us. And I don't want to go there because I don't want to be videoed. I don't want you guys to be videoed with their secret cameras and the recording devices. So we're not going to go to a government-run center. And those civic centers that you would go to where gun shows are, just about all of them are owned by either the city or the county, or the city and the county, okay? So, or the town. So that's not viable. But what might be viable is if we, I've got my eye on some land. And maybe we should buy the land. And maybe we should portion it and sell an acre to whoever wants. And there's enough land where a lot of people can have an acre. And you can put your shipping container on there if you want. You could build a cabin there if you want. You can build a home there if you want. You can put a well there, or we could have a village well, and we could have a village meeting center / house of worship, workshop, auto shop, woodworking shop. We can have lathes, tools, farm equipment. Everything you can think of could be on this piece of ground. and you can own it. But there would be some rules. And the rules would be like no multicultural hair, okay? So if you want to have blue hair, no. You have to come with some skills. We are not, and we will be prejudiced against those who don't have skills. So if you can't pitch in, if you can't earn your keep, if you're not a doer, we can't use people who just want to ride on the backs of our sweat. It's not going to happen. So it's only people who have some skills, and there are a lot of skills that we would be interested in. That would be farming, gardening, mechanics, electronics, communications, teaching, medicine. The list goes on and on. Defense, shooting, hand-to-hand combat, karate. The list is endless. Sheetrock, roofing, everything you could possibly think of. Energy, heating, cooling, excavation, lumberjacks. Everything you possibly think of is a skill that we would be interested in. So the only kind of the way that you would not be allowed to do this is if you are like a millennial that doesn't care about anything. If and no cell phones, you will not be allowed on the property with a cell phone. So if that kind of interests you and you want to be away from some of the dangers that are all around us, and you kind of like what we do, and you want to associate with us, I'm interested in hearing from you. But I'm not going to make it easy. I'm not going to say, oh, just click here and you're in. Absolutely not. There'll be an interview process. I will interview you. And we can do that on the phone, then we can meet. I need to know about what you know, why you want to do it. I'll have some questions for you. And you'll have to figure out how to contact us. Okay? And if it were easy, anybody could do it. And we don't want it to be easy. So you might have to call GCN and say, how do I get in touch with Finelli? And they may say, well, why don't you leave your number? And we'll get it to him, and he'll call you. Maybe that'll work. I don't know. Maybe you can send a letter, in an envelope to Vincent Finelli, Wright County, Missouri, and try to find the zip code that might work. I don't know. You figure it out. Okay? So that's what we're up to. That's what we're interested in. And second hour on Friday. First hour was with Dr. Margaret. We're going to be talking about food and survival. Second hour, it's going to be just me. And I'm going to be talking about, from my notes, things that I've written down about how I do things. Tips, tricks, a different way of doing pretty much everything, a different way of looking at everything. So if you want to hear more, an insight as to what makes me tick, you'll find out on Friday, and you can certainly call in. Gwyneth, any comments?
I think that farm is a wonderful idea if you can get the people motivated to do it.
Yeah. Well, and that's an interesting point. And that's why I said, if I'm not going to make it easy, if people want to contact us and they want to learn more about it, they're going to have to figure it out. Because I don't have time. I don't have time to push a rope, or I don't have time to herd cats. We're getting near the end where we're running out of time. So that's why I said you'll have to figure it out. Figure out how to contact me. Or maybe you'll find out how to contact another instructor who will contact me. So I'm going to make it a little bit difficult, because if it's too easy, we don't, and if all you have to do is something easy and you're not persistent, we're not interested. And I hate to say it like that, but that's where we are. That's where we are. If you don't have skills, go to Disney. Spend your final time at Disney and enjoy what you've got. But the rest of us are going to work hard towards survival. And it's not going to be easy. It really isn't. Yesterday, I was going to bale hay right after the broadcast class, and I just sat down at the kitchen computer, and Mrs. Finelli said to me, "I thought you were going to bale hay." And I said, "Well, I'm trying to figure out what I like least. Whether I like climbing up on a couple sets of scaffold on top of a ladder on top of that and spackling the ceiling, or hay. I'm trying to figure out which one of those two I like least, and the one I don't like least is what I'm going to do." And she said, "So why are you on the computer?" And I said, "Well, I'm gonna call Walmart and I'm gonna apply for a job." And she looked at me. I said, "No, really, I am." And so On Friday, I'll tell you what happened when I called Walmart, and I used star 67. So star 67 is a way of blocking your ID. So when I called, they didn't know who I was. So, class, who do you think got banned from Walmart? It could be anyone except Guineith. And the only reason I'm saying that it cannot be Guineith is she wasn't here, because otherwise it certainly could have been Guineith who could have been banned. She certainly qualified for being banned at Walmart. And I'm not talking about, none of us was banned for red hair, blue hair, green hair, yellow hair. No. And it wasn't because our pants are falling down. No. It's because of the way we are. Okay. So one of us, could be male, could be female. One of your instructors was banned. Who do you think it was? So Guineith, before we get started, I want to mention one other thing. In the Swiss, in Switzerland, are protesting because of 5G. They are revolting because of the risk of the dangerous electromagnetic radiation. And the interesting thing about this is Switzerland is the first country to really roll it out in a bigger way. Well, they've decided that they don't want it. And those who are installing this equipment saying, well, we don't need your approval because we already have the towers. We're just putting newer, faster equipment on the towers that already exist. So tough. We're going to do it. Well, the Swiss don't like it. And there are 334 antennas right now across the country that are operational as of July, 334. And the Swiss are furious, many of them. So the companies in the communications business are saying, well, we haven't installed any new infrastructure. We're just putting in new transmission and reception equipment. Well, I'm going to say something that I have to say this carefully. I believe that people are going to start dismantling this kind of equipment.
You know something? I was just about to say that.
Mm-hmm. I believe they're going to do it. Let me read a couple comments from, this is on Daily Mail. And I hate these stupid people, these trolls that say things like the comments that they make. For example, one jerk says electromagnetism is only dangerous if you're made of ferrous metal. What a moron, okay? Another one says tinfoil hats solve these problems. Another moron. Let's see. Here's another one. These are the same nuts. These same nuts said the same thing about 3G, 4G, and now 5G. Yeah. 3G, 4G, and 5G are dangerous. They all are. So, when you look at the GDP, they're all around us. And you can't believe them because they're morons. They're morons. Guineith, I'd love to hear your comments when we come back. Let's see if we can get that phone working a little better. Maybe get a little closer to wherever your cell antenna is. And we'll be right back with Guineith live in Australia. Guineith's with us live in Australia. Guineith, any comments about the 5G? Because a lot of people are very concerned about this.
This thing about 5G is just really, really bad. It's something where it could really destroy the whole planet, especially when you take into account that people like Elon Musk actually want to set up a satellite system to fry the whole planet with 5G, so that the whole planet is exposed to the 5G network. That's not going to be good for any of us, because this is the frequency that these 5G antennas run at is the same frequency that microwave ovens run at. And microwave ovens cook meat, and we're all essentially in our physical form packages of meat walking around. And we all know what microwave ovens do to meat. They fry it. You know, it's not good. It's really, really, really dangerous. And, you know, I think that they might actually be doing this on purpose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you mentioned 5G. So actually 5G is higher frequency than 4G. And the idea is that extremely long wavelengths cannot move as much data as shorter wavelengths. The shorter the wavelength, the more data it can carry. It's as simple as that. So higher and higher frequencies are necessary for faster transmission. But is faster transmission necessary? The thing that they're saying is, yeah, but you can download a movie in just minutes. So who cares? Because you don't watch a movie in minutes. You watch a movie over the length of the movie in real time. Nobody puts a movie on high speed. You watch it at normal speed, right? You don't watch it at 2x speed or 3x speed or 5. You watch it at 1x. So that argument does not hold water with me. And what's so important about movies anyway? Seriously, what's so important? Well, I wanted to mention something else. Now, you may link this together, class, and you may not. It's up to you. You know, the 22 cartridge is a real common cartridge. It's actually the oldest cartridge still being loaded today. If you were to measure it, it would be 0.22 inches in diameter. Okay, roughly a little bit less than a quarter of an inch in diameter. And the first one dates back to 1857. Believe it or not, the 22 short was the first cartridge that was a fully metallic, self-contained, ready-to-go, out-of-the-box cartridge, built in 1857. And during the American War of Northern Aggression, it was the cartridge of choice carried as a weapon by soldiers on both sides for self-defense, close in. That's 22 short. Now, you don't see too many 22 shorts, but a little bit longer version of that is called the 22 long. And then a little bit longer than that is called the 22 long rifle. And then a little bit longer than that is the 22 Winchester Magnum rimfire. Okay? So the 22 long rifle is the least expensive of all of them, even though it's larger than the short, because they make so many of them. I suggest you get a lot of them. How many? Oh, I guess a case. It'd be 5,000 in a case. Sometimes 5,500, but typically 5,000 are in a case. And I suggest you get them, because there is more bang for your buck in that case than any other cartridge, in terms of what it costs, how small it is to carry, and you can kill a cow with a 22 long rifle. For sure. You can kill a deer. President Ronald Reagan, there was an assassination attempt with a 22. The assassins, the caliber of choice for many assassins is a 22. Now, I'm not suggesting anybody goes and kill anybody, but you can get a lot of 22s. You can have 5,000 of them for a reasonable price, probably around, maybe $207 for a case, plus tax, if you have a location that charges you tax. So get yourself a really accurate rifle, maybe a nice little pistol chambered in 22, and you might want to start plinking and get used to it. Get it while you can. We'll be right back. So, class, I just went to the internet and I said 22 LR, as in 22 long rifle. Case price. I found 22 long rifle. You can get all you want by the case at $1.47 for 50. Okay? Pretty inexpensive. I suggest you avoid Remington. You'll be happy, I believe, with a brand that I like, Aguila, A-G-U-I-L-A, Aguila. It's from Mexico. Works great. It's easily primed. And I suggest you consider the high velocity. It's, it works in the Ruger 1022. It'll work in pretty much everything. Now, it's not as accurate as the target round, the standard velocity. Standard velocity is just below the speed of sound. High velocity is just above the speed of sound. Speed of sound is about 1,100 feet per second. So it's a little louder if you go with the high velocity, but it cycles the automatics better than the standard. So I suggest you consider either one. Okay, if you're going to use a lever action or a bolt action, standard velocity is fine for target shooting. If you want a little more punch, you go with the high velocity. They're roughly the same price, within a couple pennies. $1.47 a box for the standard velocity, $1.52 for a box 50 for the high velocity. So check it out. You'll find it on the internet. I suggest you get it, and I suggest you get it now. Okay. Walmart stopped selling handgun ammunition. No, they're going to stop when they run out. And I have a feeling they're going to run out really soon. So just a couple thoughts. Guineith, your comments?
Okay, if I could get a firearm here in Australia, which it seems likely I'm not going to be able to because of our draconian gun laws, I would pick a 22, personally, because especially for the ladies out there, from what I've heard, they don't have quite so much of a kick when you fire them, but they are very effective. I know this from being around farming people for years. You can kill any farm animal with a 22. You can kill a horse with a 22. Okay, so if you can kill a horse with a 22, you can certainly kill its rider as well. And that's the thing that's going to be important. If anybody out there is so inclined and maybe a bit more traditionally minded, I'm going to suggest something which maybe you might agree with, maybe you might not, but I'd like your comments, Susie. I've always been very, very interested in black powder, mainly because with 22, you might, once you run out of the 5,000 rounds, you might have trouble coming across more ammunition. But if you have a black powder weapon, then you can usually rig up some sort of gunpowder, and it's apparently fairly easy to cast lead balls. So I would be having some sort of a combination, if I could own any firearms at all. I would definitely have a 22, but I would also have some type of black powder weapons around as well. What's your comment on that, Vincent?
Well, I don't have one. My thought is they're kind of slow. I mean, if you're going to take one shot, it puts you back to the Revolutionary War, right? You take one shot and then you clean out the barrel. You use pour in the powder. You want to cool the barrel. Make sure that as you pour the powder down, it doesn't ignite while you're pouring the powder down the barrel. So for me, I'd rather have a lot of 22s. Now, a 50 caliber ball is it's a large ball. You get hit with one of those and it can spin you around. But and they're deadly. And some people, I probably shouldn't say this, but if we get to the point where people are doing really, really bad things, I have a feeling some people are going to start shooting marbles out of those black powder rifles. And when I say marble, I'm talking about a glass marble. And the problem with those darn things is when they splinter, there's no fixing the victim. That guy's down. And with pieces of glass everywhere, surgeons can't find the glass. There's no real good way of using an imaging system to find out where all that glass is. And I have a feeling that people are going to resort to things like that when things just absolutely get out of control. I'm not advocating it. I'm just saying that my reading tells me that's the kind of thing that some people have been doing, and I think it's going to get worse. And just look at. And so people might say, boy, that's cruel. Well, I think atom bombs are cruel. I think mortars are cruel. I think genetically engineered mosquitoes are cruel. Like I got an email from Steve Elkins about them. So genetically modified mosquitoes now have arrived in Florida. And when they bite, they really leave a welt. So now the question is, are these carriers of disease? Have they been engineered to kill us? Well, Bill Gates thinks there's too many of us. And, of course, I agree. There are too many. So let's start with you, Bill. Let you volunteer to go first. Okay? And our politicians, if they think there are too many, let's start with them. Okay? If they want to eliminate population, let's start with them. So they can't have any children. If we can't, they can't. So whatever they want for us should be good for them. I'm not suggesting we take out any politicians. I'm suggesting that we explain to them, maybe by going to their house, visiting, knocking on their doors and saying, hey, you know what? Why are you doing this? We don't like it. By the way, I'm looking forward to seeing you in church. I'll sit right behind you. Yeah, that's what we did in Virginia when the politicians want to put a prison and a dump in our town. We stopped in front of their houses, pointed out the window at their front door, pointed. They didn't feel too comfortable about that. We went to visit them. We saw them in the supermarkets. We pointed them out, followed them around the store, pointed them out to everybody. Went to church, pointed them out, sat behind them. It was so uncomfortable that they said, you know what, we don't need this stuff. We don't need this private prison in our little village. We don't need this dump in our county. Well, it's not a good idea. That's because they got the message. I don't know how else you can get the message to them, civilly, other than that, because they don't seem to understand. They don't understand. And petitions? What's a petition? That's please don't. Please don't. That doesn't work so well. So but in the case of 5G, I know that people are going to start using those for target practice. I know that. I'm not advocating it. I'm not going to give any position on it. However, I know it's going to happen because people will have had it and they'll figure, wow, I've got the 22s anyway. And I suggest that, let's change the topic. I suggest you buy 22s because you're going to need them. You're going to need them for hunting. You're going to need them for eating rabbits and squirrels. You're going to need them. That's what they work great for that. Now, not everybody wants to make rabbit stew, but I think, are heading to a point in time where it's going to be important to be able to protect yourself and hunt for food. And the 22, the size of 2 dominoes. Well, I'll say it this way. You could have about 4 boxes of 50 rounds each of 22s in about the same space as a pack of cigarettes. Let's say it that way. 200 rounds in about the same space. Yep. Now, of course, it's going to be a lot heavier than a pack of cigarettes. But, how many people go into a battle with 200 rounds, that they're carrying? Not too many. But that's why I like the 22. I really do. And if you want the very best, fastest shooting, least jamming 22, that's a semi-automatic, that would be the Ruger, R-U-G-E-R, model 10/22, 1022, 10 rounds, 22 long rifle. Everybody should have one. Everybody who is interested in protecting himself, herself, their family. That's a really good training rifle. I know George, if he's listening, he'd probably agree with that. Now, I really like lever action. I like the Marlin lever action. It's a great lever action 22. It's more accurate than the Ruger 1022. But the Ruger can put more rounds out faster than pretty much anything for the money. And the important thing is you want a 22 that doesn't jam very often, and that would be the Ruger 1022, in my opinion, based on my experience. And it's going to cost you about a little over $200 for a rifle. Get the common one, don't get the fancy twisted barrel. Just get the common Ruger 1022 with the birch stock. That's the one I like. You can get it in blue, or you can get it spend a little bit more money, get it in stainless steel. About a little over an 18-inch barrel, nice, compact, light. Children can learn how to shoot with it. It's got iron sights. And if you're going to let a child learn, of course you need to supervise and train first before you put ammunition in the rifle. And you don't have to load it up with 10 rounds. You can load it up with 1. And that's the way I train young people. They get 1 shot at a time. You don't need to blast away ammo. That's not necessary. 1 shot, 2 kills. That's really the way to go. 1 shot, 2 kills. And with that Ruger 10/22, you should be able to, with some practice, at let's say 50 yards, you should be able to put all your rounds in a target the size of a quarter, if you're pretty good with practice. So that's my thoughts, Guineith. And I have a feeling that these 22s are going to be finding their way into antennas all over the world, because people will have had it and they don't know what to do to stop it. I'm not advocating it, because I know the ABC, the CBS, the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, they're all listening. I'm not advocating it, but I know it's going to happen.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, because the thing is, I've got to make a YouTube video about this to explain it further. But we have to come to a point where we decide we've had enough. And it's up to each individual to say where that point is for them. I mean, here in Australia, I was just thinking the other day, we have got more or less mandatory vaccines. We've got the school system teaching our children how to be, homosexuals. And actually, a lot of my son's friends have actually declared that they are now homosexuals, lesbians, bisexuals, gay, or whatever, weirdness that they can, and perversion that they can think of to come up with. We've got hospitals in Melbourne doing partial birth abortions. Every gynecologist in this state is now an abortionist. So that means every child that is born in this state passes through the hands of a mass murderer before they get handled by anybody else. And that's just disgusting. And what annoys me is that the people here in Victoria, they seem to be putting up with it.
Guineith Isaacs is with us, and we're having difficulty with the signal today. We're going to see if we can figure it out by next week. Guineith, a question for you. I mentioned at the beginning of the broadcast that one of us was banned from Walmart. Now, please don't feel that you have to select me because I just, because I'm on the air with you today. But one of our instructors has been banned. Who do you think it might be?
I'm actually thinking it might be Richard Allen Miller.
Rick, okay. All right. Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm writing this down. So your vote is for Rick?
I think it might be Rick, because he's been, oh my gosh, he's somebody who, when he has a contrary opinion about something, he can be extremely, he can dig his heels in.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
He can make a scene if he wants.
Uh-huh. Okay. So no one else would dig his or her heels in?
Oh, we all would.
That's right.
Rick is in a very particular way. And I don't think Walmart would like how he does it.
Okay. So your vote is for Rick Miller. Okay, so...
It's him. Yeah.
All right. Very good. I don't want to persuade you to vote in any particular direction. So let me tell you who have received votes so far, class. Rick Miller, you just heard that. Rich Sheben, Joey, me, and Steve Elkins. So those are the ones who are on the list so far. Steve Elkins, Joey, Rich Sheben, Rick Miller, and me. So anybody else, if you've got an idea who it might be?
I
We'd love to hear it.
Maybe,
And why?
If I could have a second choice, okay, I'm thinking maybe Norm Shealy, funnily enough, just because he might just say something that triggers people. You know, he's not so inclined to be as ornery as the rest of us are. But sometimes if he just gets a particular opinion and he's not going to back down, he can, once again, be quite stubborn about his opinions.
Well, you're absolutely...
We all are. But he's a very surprising guy, and he's normally so mild and so, even-tempered. But I suspect that there's probably, if he did lose his temper, that he would really lose it if he ever did.
Well, I sort of heard that on Monday when he was so angry about, or this is my perception, he was angry about the attack on the Saudi Arabia oil field and taking out 5% of the world's supply of oil. You know, the largest oil field in Saudi Arabia, and the disruption that it would cause. He was not against delivering some nuclear devices to the attacker, in the alleged attackers in Iran. Yeah. So, yeah, I can imagine Norm Shealy could lose his temper. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, when he was at Harvard's Massachusetts General early in his career, they were so angry with him because he would not follow protocol that he thought was injurious to the patients. Because he wouldn't do that, his peers published his obituary in 1960 in the Boston Globe, a huge newspaper. That's how angry they were with Norm Shealy. So, I think Norm Shealy stands on principle. But I also say that every single one of the USA Prepares instructors stands on principle. And I can tell you that they wouldn't be here with us at any point in time if they did not. And if they didn't, they would be dismissed. And have any instructors been dismissed? Yes, they have. They have. One guy was dismissed without ceremony because I felt he was in the business of selling, and that was number one in his priorities, and that was not number one in ours. As a matter of fact, it doesn't even rank in priorities. I want to make sure our instructors survive, but selling, that's not why we're here. We're here to deliver class information. When I say class, I mean like being in a classroom, instruction that you would not even get in college. That's what we're here for. Postgraduate work on the air, free, doesn't cost our students anything. We're here for them, and we'll take their calls. So, class, if you have a suggestion, who you think it might be, who got banned from Walmart, let us know. And the number, 866-582-9933. Also, in the next week or so, that person, it could be me, it might not be me, will be on the air and describe exactly what happened. So we're going to lay it out for you. Get your 22s in bulk. Get a case of them. Cocked, Locked, hour number 2 of USA Prepares. Guineith Isaacs is with us live in Australia. So I just went to the internet and I looked up what is it going to cost to get a case of Aguila, A-G-U-I-L-A, 22 long rifle cartridges. That would be 50 in a box, 100 boxes, $1.47 per box, $147 for 100 boxes in a sealed case. Shipping is going to be $54 total price, $201. What a great way to go. I suggest you consider it because I remember buying them years ago and they were 89 cents a box. I remember actually at 59 cents, but that was in the 60s. Back in the 90s, 80s, 90s, they were about roughly $1 a box. So now $1.47. What a great way to go, considering the enormous inflation that we've been having. And you can still get them. And these are great. Aguila, Aguila. And you get them in standard velocity, 40 grain, or you can get the high velocity. And roughly $1.50 a box. I suggest you do it. And the Ruger 1022, I found one new at Cabela's. I don't suggest buying new. I suggest buying used. That way you don't have to pay the sales tax on it. Go to a gun show, pay your $10 admission, find some guy that's selling it, and you should be able to get one for $200. Brand new one, $229.99 is Cabela's price. So you should be able to get it for less than that. So those are my thoughts. Guineith, you want to talk about buying used rather than new anyway, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, you can get a firearm. Firearms don't age, from what I understand. So if it was a firearm that was made 50 years ago or 100 years ago that takes 22 rounds, if it's been well looked after, as I understand it, it's going to work just as well as the day that it was made, just about. Is that right, Vincent?
Absolutely. And, if the bore is nice and clean and it's been oiled and kept, out of the barn, if it's kept, inside where the humidity doesn't act on it, absolutely. If it's been well taken care of, certainly. I have seen, I'm not going to say whether I have them or not, we'll say I've seen rifles from World War II that have been through the war that are still functioning. And I'm talking about these things have been used to bash people's heads in. They have been used to shoot. They have been dragged through the mud. They've gotten rained on, snowed on. They've been through the war, and they still work perfectly well. So a good quality rifle, pistol, shotgun is the way to go. And if you don't know the name of it, it's probably not worth buying, okay? So if it's some name you've never heard of, forget it, okay? You want this thing to go bang every time you squeeze that trigger. So there are plenty of names that you recognize. I don't need to mention them. But if it's got a name that you don't recognize, I would not buy it. Okay? And as I have a friend, his name is Ashley, and Ashley's an auctioneer. And he says, this is his quote, because I asked him how things were selling in auctions years ago. And this is worth remembering. Good stuff sells good. Junk is always junk. Okay? And that's absolutely true for a firearm. So the last thing I want to do is be in a position where I need it to go bang and have it go click. I don't want that to happen. So I want it to work right every time. So that's why I would recommend getting a name that you know. And it's going to cost a little more for a name that you know rather than some name you've never heard of. Any comments, Guineith?
Yeah, I would absolutely tend to agree, because the thing with firearms is they are such a thing of fine manufacturing, and you can't. My dad was a master engineer, and gunsmithing was something that he did. He had 2 firearms all through childhood, and I never knew it until when he sold them. And I turned around to him at the age of about 15 when he put them up for sale, and I said, "What are you doing?" And that was at the time, I think the Hoddle Street massacre in Melbourne had just happened. And, there was a lot of gun box acts in Australia at the time. And he said, "Oh, no, I don't want them anymore. I don't want the risk of them." And I thought at the time that he was a fool, and I told him so. And it wasn't often that I called my father a fool, because usually he wasn't. Usually he was a very wise man. But the 2 firearms that he had were a 303. It was actually a Lee Enfield 303. And he had a 22 of an unknown brand. And if you are lucky enough to ever come across a Lee Enfield 303, please snap it up if you are at all able to, because they are one of the best firearms that was ever made. The only thing is, if you try shooting a squirrel with it, you'll probably blow it to pieces. So that's what the 22 303.
You know, they
Yeah.
in World War II, soldiers were exposed to training rifles, and some of them were chambered in 22. And there is an Enfield 303 chambered in 22. So you can have, the comfort of not receiving the recoil of a 303 battle rifle cartridge, but you can feel the full heft and weight with a training rifle chambered in 22. And the Nazis also had their version, and it was it was like the K98K rifle, also chambered in 22. It wasn't called that, but it was like the K98K chambered in 22. And they're still around. You can still get one, and you can still shoot one. Now they've the barrels are pretty worn because they've had millions of rounds through them. But what a collector's piece, and what a great thing to have, a piece of history. So yeah, and maybe George can comment on that one day when I'm sure he's seen them, and can comment on the Enfield 303 trainer and also the German version. Yep, and I'm sure we had our versions too. But class, I think now is the time, and I really want to make sure that you hear me very clear, 5x5. There's going to be a time when it's going to be very difficult to get these things. And right now, in many locations, you'll have to check out your own, because don't blame me if you get arrested for buying privately. But check and see if you can go to a gun show in your state and buy privately from someone who's selling. And here's how it goes. I've said this before. So, for example, a guy will be walking around, and he'll have a rifle or a pistol or a shotgun with him. He'll be carrying it in the gun show. And really what that means is it's probably for sale. So you can walk up to him, and you can say, "Hi, are you selling that?" And he'll probably say, yes. He may say no. He may say, "I just bought it." You say, "Well, great. Looks like you got a great find. Good on you," or, "Congratulations, it looks great." But if he says, "No, it's for sale," then the next thing you say is, "May I see it?" And he'll hand it to you. And then you take a look at it and see if it's what you want, and you can ask him how much it is. And let's say he says $400. You say, "Oh, okay." And then you look at it, and then other people are going to walk close because they want to see if you found something that they missed. And they're going to kind of zoom in on you. So you can kind of say, "Well, let's go over here," and walk to another area. Invite the guy that's selling it to come with you. That way maybe you'll lose this little bit of a crowd that you've generated. Because that happens. That's happened to me many times. And then you can say, "Okay, is it complete? Does it work? Have you tested it? Why are you selling it?" If he says, "Well, I've got too many," or "I just bought it to sell," then maybe he hasn't tried it out. Maybe he doesn't know if it works or not. Maybe it doesn't work. So use your own judgment. If he says, "No, it's my personal rifle, my personal pistol," that's okay. And you say, "Are you from this state?" "I am." And then if he is and you are, then it's probably legal. But check it out. Make sure it's legal in your state. And then you can negotiate, and you can say, "Well, you want 400. Would you consider taking less?" And he may say no. Or he may say, "I'll tell you what, how about 375? And you say, "Well, I was really thinking 350. And then if you really want it, you start, or you can say, "How much did you say?" I'll say 400, and start pulling some money out, some green. So I'll tell you what, I think I can peel out 350. And once he sees the green, he's more inclined to take the 350. Okay? But you have to determine what it's worth to you. And most of the time it's legal to do that. Just like if you went to a garage sale and somebody were selling a refrigerator. It's just like that. It's personal property. But check with your state, because if you live in some states, it's not legal. Now, in Missouri, it is. It is. It's absolutely legal. So check the rules, regulations, and laws. And if there's a cop there, on the way in, you can say, "Hey, I'm from this state. Is it legal for me to buy a gun from an individual?" They'll tell you. Probably say, oh, yeah, sure, no problem. But it's uncomfortable. But you can in many locations. So check it out before you go. Any comments, Guineith?
Yeah, I would say probably buying from a private person at this point in time is probably the better way to go. You know, and paying cash, because you've got to be aware of the times that we're going into. And I just say to to people out there, go and read your history book.
Can you speak up, Guineith? Can you speak up maybe a little louder because it's really fuzzy?
Okay. Go and see the history books and see what happens in these sorts of times that we're heading into right now. Mm-hmm. Because it's a time when things can turn very, very quickly. These items can become almost unobtainable overnight. And, you know, it's something where you've really got to get it as a priority as soon as possible, especially with all this carry-on in the Middle East. We're heading into really, really apocalyptic times, and you are going to absolutely bless the day that you bought that firearm when there's a bunch of people attacking your real estate and you're able to defend it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. You know, I sleep with a stick with lead in it. I do. And there's a book that you should buy, class. It's called the Shooter's Bible. Shooter's Bible. Right now, it's paperback. It's $17 on the internet. And there are a couple books like that: Shooter's Bible, Gun Buyer's Guide, and that will tell you all of the choices that you have. And you might read that cover to cover and figure out what you want before you go to the gun show. So when I was younger, I was quite dyslexic, and I decided to overcome my inability to read because the words would jump around on the page. So I decided to read a lot about things I was interested in. And there's another book I suggest you consider. It's called A Gun Digest. The current edition is 2019. It's available on Amazon. I'm not saying buy it from Amazon, but it's $29.99 in paperback on Amazon. I suggest that you don't buy the electronic version. If you're going to buy a book, buy the book with pages and paper and a cover. And actually, I like hardcover the best, but this is only available in paperback. $29.99. It's called Gun Digest. Now, this is the number one go-to book about most aspects of guns, shooting, hunting, personal defense, target practice, gun making, collecting, lots of articles in it. But it'll show pretty much every handgun, shotgun, rifle that's available, has been available, and about what it should cost. If I'm not mistaken, this book has the prices, the current prices in three different conditions, like, like brand new almost condition versus just good condition. So it'll give you an idea of what it should cost. It may cost more or less if you go to a gun show when you go to buy it. But do your research before you go to buy it. Okay? And you'll, that $30, it seems like a lot of money, but you'll save probably more than that by knowing what in the heck you're doing, and you won't be making a mistake. Now, if you're buying a 22 and you get the Ruger 1022, if you pay a fair price for it, you're not making a mistake. Okay? All of our children have been trained with Ruger 1022s. But first, they were trained with bolt-action rifles, 22s. And then they graduated to lever action. And then they graduated to the semi-automatic Ruger 1022. But the Ruger 1022 is, if you're going to buy just one 22 in a rifle, that's the one. It's as simple as that. Guineith, you were talking about buying things used, avoiding paying taxes legally by buying things that other people have already paid the tax on. Great way to go. You want to continue with that?
Yeah, I would actually. I'm just recovering here from a really, really bad financial time that we've been in for about the last 6 months or so. And part of that was my computer died. And so I had to replace my computer, which was a Dell 5520, and it died of old age after 13 years. How's that, Vincent? That's geriatric as far as most computers are. But anyway, it finally died. And you know that it's dead when the CMOS ROM BIOS chip packs it in. There's no cure for that. And that's what happened with this particular computer. And, but you know something, I bought a new second-hand computer from the pawnbrokers for $300. And it's a really good brand. Acer is also a good brand of computer. And probably when it was new, which was only probably about 3 years ago, it would have sold brand new for around about $1,500. And I bought it for $300. And it's, you know, it's the past performance of my last computer, which was of a similar quality. Was there any indication? It's probably got between 7 and 10 years of life left in it. You know, and it's because I tend to care for my computers. And, you know, if you, that's $1,200 that you're saving. Somebody else has already forked out the $1,500. It's depreciated already. It's probably not going to lose much more value, you know. If you do this, if you buy second-hand, then really you're not losing out on the quality. Because I bought this computer, and my son had a look at it, and he said, "Hey, Mum, can I have this computer?" Because he said, "This computer will play all my video games that I want to play." And I hummed and hard about it, and I finally decided, no, I'm going to keep this one. Okay, because he had a computer anyway, and maybe it didn't do quite all the things that he wanted it to do. So I said, well, I really, you know, I would like to keep this computer.
Okay, hold that thought. Hold that thought. I just checked the date on the computers. I bought 7 computers that I use for broadcasting here. So I was on the internet and I found some computers at Dell, and I'm not going to say the number to make it easy for our detractors to hack us. So I'll just say this, that they are 11 years old. I bought 7 of them, and my plan was, well, if 1 or 2 are quit, I'll have others to cannibalize. So I bought 7 of them. The total price was $350, delivered, shipped, and that included the 7 computers, the 7 monitors, the 7 keyboards, the 7 mice, the 7 power cords, and the 7 copies of Windows. So I paid $50. Yes.
I'm getting Stingray again. I'm going back to the house to get a new battery. If I drop out, could you get the engineer to call me back in a moment?
Sure. Be glad to. Be glad to.
I had a
So, Jason,
and
we're having some.
Almost gone. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't you do that, and I'll ask Jason to call you in 5 minutes. How about that?
That'll be great. Thank you very much for that.
Okay. There you go. So, class, interesting. So, Guineith lives on a small farm in Australia. She lives off the grid. In order to do this broadcast, she has to go outside to get a cell phone signal. And why is she using a cell phone? Well, because her landline price has increased to $100, actually over $100 per month. We used to have great reception, and she's having a real tough time with cell phone reception. So she has to walk out high on a hill outside, and this is their winter, and that's how dedicated she is. Now, does she get paid? No, she doesn't. I am not interested in buying anything new. I really am not. I've said that Would I want a tractor, a brand new John Deere tractor with all the bells and whistles? Would I want that compared to my old 1984 tractor? Absolutely not. There was a guy that when I was in Virginia, there was a guy that came to our farm and he heard we were moving and he wanted to buy some of our items. And he really wanted this John Deere tractor that I have. It's a John Deere model 2950. It's a 6-cylinder straight diesel. It's got 8-speed transmission, front-end loader. And he really wanted it. And he said he wanted it because it's longer than the new ones. The new ones are more compact, shorter, more bouncy, harder on the back. And he wanted one that was comfortable. Well, they don't make them like this anymore. It weighs 10,000 pounds. The new ones aren't cast iron from the front to the back. They have these little turbocharged 4-cylinder engines. And I guess the salesman says that's a great way to go because, heck, you don't have to have a big 6-cylinder engine. You can have this little 4-cylinder engine, sips fuel. Not really. No, it takes about the same amount of fuel to do the same amount of work. So I really like that big John Deere tractor. And Jason, please let me know when you get Guineith, okay? I have a couple items that I can share with you. So when you buy a house, let's say you're going to buy a different house. Why would you buy a house when you go to the kitchen, you go, wow, this is a really nice kitchen. It's got new appliances, stainless steel stove, stainless steel dishwasher, stainless steel refrigerator, freezer combination. What about the range hood? Does it vent outside? Why would anybody buy a house that has a stove that does not vent the fumes outside? Why? I can't imagine. I've been in houses that, professional designers have said, you know what? We can put an island over here. We can put the stove in the island or the range top on the island. No provision for venting the steam, the gas fumes, the burn smells out of the house. Why? Why would anybody do that? I don't know. And I've seen these television snippets of these real estate programs where you can buy this house and this is awesome because it's got these closets and it's got this place for it to store your 200 pairs of shoes, and it's got a garage it's all neat and clean, except it doesn't have a workbench. It doesn't have lighting. It doesn't have outlets. There's no place for a compressor. I don't get it. I don't get it. People are not thinking. But what they are thinking about is the view. That's really important. It's got to have a great view. To me, I'm interested in durability, strength, longevity, value. Value doesn't mean the cheapest. Value means the best for the money. That's what I'm interested in. But I still can't understand why anybody would buy a house without having a vent for the stove or the cooktop. Now, maybe the thought is, well, we'll just cut a hole in the wall and we'll just stick one in there. Well, to me, when we built our farmhouse, that was really important to me. So that means that the stove is not on an island. Now, you can have a range hood that ducts upward, and you can have the ductwork in the ceiling, and you can run out to an outside wall. But that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And those cooktops that have you can grill on them, and they have such a strong fan that they will pull the air from the surface of the grill downward. That doesn't make any sense either. I know a guy who got one of those, and he used to have gas logs in the living room, and he would turn on the stove and start grilling on his Gen Air grill in the kitchen, and it would draw so much air through that fan downward that it would blow out the flame in the living room. So you need to think about things like that. And since we're in the kitchen, let's talk about countertops. We don't have a quartz countertop. We don't have a Corian countertop. We don't have an expensive countertop. We just have the simple Formica Wilson Art style, the laminate. And we don't slide things across the counter. We don't slide cups. We don't slide dishes. We don't slide cans. We don't put a can on the counter and use a manual can opener and grind the bottom of the can into the countertop. Our countertops after 15 years look almost the way they looked when we first put them in, because we're careful. We don't scratch the countertops. Now, if you have a coffee mug, a ceramic coffee mug that came from China, you'll probably find the bottom is rough. Well, it doesn't have to be. You can take some emery, you can take some carborundum paper, you could even take sandpaper, and you can sand those rough edges that will grind into your countertops, scratch your countertop. You can grind them off and make it smooth. That's what we do. We use emery, or we use carborundum, or we use sandpaper. So they've all been sanded smooth. And that's what I suggest you consider doing if you have that problem. And you tell everybody in the house, what we're not going to do is we're not going to slide and scratch the countertop. We want it to last. Now, does it make sense to buy a granite countertop? I don't know. Why would it? Why would it make sense to spend $5,000 on a counter that, maybe in 10 years you're not going to like the color of? Maybe this year's color might be a tan. Maybe next year's color or the year after might be black and white, or orange, or brown. Why would you do that? Why would you spend so much money for something that you're never going to be able to replace? Whereas you can spend maybe 1/6 the price or less on a Wilson Art or a Formica top. That's what we have. In our farmhouse, we don't have any brass chandeliers. Not one. Not one. There is nothing in our house that is for show. Nothing. Everything that we have is for go, for durability, for the long run. Everything. So instead of having fancy chandeliers, we have extra trusses, eye joists, thicker floors. Instead of having this beautiful laminate floor, we don't have any of those. What we have is oak. White oak. White oak is about 10% harder than red oak. And it's 3/4 of an inch thick, and it comes from Missouri. And there are lots of different grades. You can buy the very, 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 very best grade, and you can spend a lot of money for it, and it'll be perfect. No knots, no wormholes. That's not what we have. Our flooring, we've got it everywhere, except in a couple of places where we have ceramic tile. But our floor is 3/4 inch, tongue and groove, white oak with knots and wormholes. And it's like 1/5 at the most of the price of a perfect floor. And when you look at it, it's really cool because we filled in all the knot holes with putty, and it looks great. It's like different colors. It's got some light, some dark, some medium colors. It's got grain, and it looks beautiful, and it's less expensive. And another thing I wanted to mention was tile. So let's say you decide to buy tile. Well, we have ceramic tile in the laundry area and in the bathrooms. Well, typically you would buy 10% more than you need. That way you get the same lot, the same color, the same everything. And because if you go back in a month, after you start putting tile down, we need 2 more pieces. It may not match. So you get it all from the same lot. You check the lot on the box when you buy the tile, and you make sure it's the same lot. And you buy about 10% more. So let's say you have 4 areas that need tile. So you're going to get 10% more for each one. So it's 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10, 40% extra. If you had different tile in each room, like each bathroom is different. Well, why do you do that? Well, because we like the way it looks. That's crazy. So what we did was we bought all the same tile, one kind of tile, one lot. And we bought 10% more than we needed. But it was way less as an overage than it would be if you bought different colors and different tiles. So why do you need different colors and different styles and different types of tile in each room? Why? Makes no sense to me. So ours is all the same. So if you go in the laundry area, that's the same as in the powder room. It's the same as in the bathroom. And we had enough left over that we could build another bathroom if we wanted to. And I'm probably going to do that if we stay here. So that's the way we do things. We look at the big picture, and we all have input. So when we make a decision, pretty much about anything and everything, everybody's involved. So when we painted the studio that I'm in right now, everybody was involved in the color. Everybody. Because it may not be the studio forever. It may be going back to a dining room. So what color should it be? What color should the curtains be? What color lighting should we use? Warm white, cool white, soft white, natural? What should it be? Everybody gets involved, and logic prevails. It looks like we're not going to be able to connect with Guineith for the rest of the broadcast today. Oh, you have her? Okay. Okay, Guineith, you're back.
Yes, I'm here, but I'm back in the house, so I apologize for any lack of call quality. We got Stingray again. They don't like us talking about these topics, Vincent.
Yeah. Yep. Well, we're gonna keep doing it.
Yeah.
And we're gonna talk about the degenerates, and we're gonna talk about the things to make your life better. Guineith, do you have something you want to talk about, or do you want me to swing into something that I was going to mention?
Okay. I was just going to quickly mention about what we're heading into. You know, we were going to spend the whole broadcast, but we had technical issues with the phone. What we're heading into is absolutely apocalyptic. You're going to need that firearm or those firearms, okay? You really, really need to get them because, a long time ago in the Bible, Jesus talked about these times. And you can go and read it. Go and get a Bible and read it. It's in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 24. And he said things like this. He said, many shall be offended. That's a big one. And you look around, and everyone's offended at somebody else. He said things like, people will be full of hate. People will betray one another. And the love of the great body of people would grow cold. And, nobody wants to help anyone anymore. I don't want to help people. I hardly want to help people anymore. Not compared to what I used to do. I still do want to help people. But, you were saying on another broadcast, you're more selective these days about who to help. And I'm finding that I'm the same. And I think that a lot of the instructors are finding that they're the same, Vincent. This is going to happen for sure. This bombing of this oil facility in Saudi Arabia has done away with a fifth of the world's oil supply. If that refinery processed a fifth of the world's crude oil into petroleum products. And you're going to be aware that even at the peak of the OPEC oil crisis back in the 1970s, the world only lost 5% of supply. And now we're back in that position again, just from the bombing of this one refinery. And, it's like this. It's going to go into tip to tap. There's going to be, Iranian oil refineries bombed. And, it's going to go chaotic from here on in. And I've been using this phrase a lot, blood in the water. And I think that is, something else is the death of political figures. And I think that it's just going to descend into increasing chaos from now on. Does that make sense, Vincent?
Yeah, it does. And I'm very concerned about energy. This could be the thing that puts us in deeper into the depression that we're already in. The numbers, I believe, are lying. The pensions are at risk. Social Security's at risk. Everyone's job is at risk. People are lying, and corporations are not taking responsibility for making defective products. There's nobody to call. And the people are as dumb as can be. I mean, there are people. I met a guy who absolutely despises the president, and he likes the other team. What could be more dumb than that? Really, what could be more dumb than, well, you can see it. These people have green hair, blue hair, orange hair. They've got tattoos up and down everywhere, even on their faces. They're morons. And yet, there's so many of them. There's so many degenerates. There's so many people living risky lifestyles that they're invading us. They're invading our space. And class, you've got to watch The Walking Dead. I was talking with Joey last night. He was able to find 5 seasons of it. He got it for $36 based on my recommendation that he watch it. And so he's going to watch that too. Class, we're talking about, where does this go? With disease running rampant and people wanting whatever you have because they were too dumb to prepare for it, too stupid, too greedy. Going to Disney was more important. Going to the ball games was more important than tomorrow. Well, those people, those that survive, are coming your way. You're going to need to protect yourself. You're going to need to defend yourself. And the next thing, I'm going to get a lot of comments about this, but when it gets really bad, cannibalism's next. Cannibalism. It's happened before.
Yep.
And you might be dinner.
Yep. Unless you can, stay home with that 22.
Yeah. Get that 22, get that case of ammo, start practicing. Gwyneth, thank you so much.